Hey, welcome. This is the second in a three-part series of my conversation with Reverend Joseph Boyd, the First Universalist Unitarian Church here in Youngstown, Ohio. In this episode, we discuss the innate spirituality within every human being, and therefore the need to take a more personal approach to your spiritual journey. Also talk about recovering from past religious trauma. Been there. We talk about the role of ambiguity in faith, the nature of protest, and Christian nationalism. Board of directors is the term that I use for the people in my life who have invested in me, Incorporated, to be the most emotionally, physically, and spiritually profitable that I can be. I record some of those conversations, and this is one of them. Please enjoy. Welcome back to part 2 of our ongoing series with Reverend Joseph Boyd of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Youngstown. Welcome. Sorry, Youngstown.
We're still kind of waking up over here. Yeah, thanks for it. Yeah, this is great. And the coffee's really good, as always.
We make a mean cup of coffee here for sure.
It's good.
So the last time that we talked, it's been a few weeks. We kind of ended it on your statement of no one can do our living for us.
Yeah, that's great. But I mean, that's great because actually I wasn't aware of that probably when I spoke, but actually I picked that up actually in Youngstown. A member of my congregation mentioned former pastor of New Bethel Baptist, Lonnie Simon, who since passed away. And he used to say to his congregation, no one can do your living for you, so don't let them do your thinking.
Right.
And that must have stuck in because I just thought that's so brilliant. It's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one can do your living for you, so don't let another person do your thinking.
Right. Well, we had said that in the context of AI because I was saying,
Oh yeah,
number one, I feel AI is
don't let AI do your thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as I was re-listening to that, I thought, we were talking about the miracle of software, the AI and the software of editing this podcast, and that AI is a flaw reduction tool.
Oh, interesting.
And
what does that mean, flaw reduction? In terms of
in terms
what's
of
flaws?
like say if I say
Okay.
you know what I mean, like, or there's a weird silence, or noise in the background, it'll take it out for me. It removes the flaws from humanity.
And see, that's like the juice of spirituality.
Exactly.
It's the silence and the awkwardness. More than I think than the certainty. More than the kind of perfect soundbite or idea or creed or belief. It's like, for me, that's where it's at. Like in that space of awkwardness, in the ums and the silence and the grasping and wondering and feeling out. That's the good stuff, man. That's like,
Yeah.
you don't want to edit that out.
You
At least
don't.
not of your life. You don't have to share it with everybody, but in your own experience. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to kind of pivot the conversation to. With most religion is scrubbing that away.
Yeah,
right?
it can be. Yeah.
When I first went, the first service that I went to, I wore a suit to church, not realizing that it was okay to wear flip-flops.
Yeah, unless you're comfortable in a suit. That's yeah. But there's no mandatory. Yeah.
But that was there was a lot of past religious baggage for me in walking in the door, but you already have to cleanse yourself to go to church to cleanse yourself. You know what I mean? You got to sanitize.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. I just kind of have like almost a revulsion toward that idea. Yeah, I don't really see church as like quite like that. It's like I don't know, it's for me it's becoming more like a place where you discover that there's a purity that can't be tarnished. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a suit or you're in a sweatshirt or whatever, like it just can't be tarnished. And like I think church is like a place to be reminded of that. Yeah, which is very different than like I gotta scrub myself and put on a nice suit and show up and present a shiny kind of self that I think is more pure than whatever happened during my week or whatever. That's very different. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I think that, so many of us have been, I think that we have an innate spirituality in
I think
humankind.
we do. Yeah.
And I think that, especially when you feel like the world is so chaotic, it feels like you're on a merry-go-round and you just want to get off and you can't, you know? Think about that scene in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas when they're trying to get off the circus little merry-go-round and they can't,
Yeah.
They just can't figure it out. And I feel like that's how most of us feel on a daily basis. There's so little that we can control, so little that we influence, um, and we're exposed to so much noise, nonsense, chaos, and we're searching for something deeper. But so many of us have been scarred by experiences such as, going to church as a 9-year-old when all you wanted to do was like go outside and play football with your friends or
Yeah.
something, and then hear about how evil you are, or all the
Yeah.
coded messages that you get, the kind of guilt, whether, from uh, a lot of religions, a lot of guilt thrown in there. And I'm just wondering
Well, you're
how.
right. Instead of kind of trusting that innate spirituality that, someone who has a desire to play football with their friends or enjoy the sunshine and play may actually find a richer, deeper, innate spirituality than trying to enforce, something. And I kind of find that with adults too. Like there's kind of a sense sometimes of like people feeling like they have to like discipline themselves and enforce like a way
Mhm.
of being or kind of like I have to go to church every Sunday and I have to do this thing. And I've always kind of been like, trust your own innate sense. What makes you come alive? What makes you feel joy? What makes you feel connected? And go for if it's a beautiful day, go for a bike ride if that's your instinct,
Yeah,
and that's cool, man. Like that's I trust that more. Maybe because I trust that more in myself now that like kids know, we all know. Like, and if you're drawn to what gives you joy, it may look different than what the parents are doing, but there's probably something rich there, you know?
sure, sure. I wonder how is it that, because we do feel that, you know, innate spirituality within us, how do we come to that place of having the confidence, the freedom, the permission to seek out that joy in the bike ride, or, you know, something else other than I have to kneel at the altar?
For me, I think it's been important to find people who've opened that up in themselves, and that's for given permission for me to explore it. Like when I've met someone, and it could be someone in a very different tradition or no tradition at all, who's like, oh, they have kind of a way of engaging the world that seems really rich and alive and, um, yeah, just enjoyable. And like, oh, well, what's that about? And that's kind of for me open a door to be like, okay, my path may look different than theirs, but the impulse might be similar.
Sure,
And for me, so that's been important, like to meet someone who like they've done that,
sure.
like that's possible, you know?
Yeah, in the, I guess, year that we've been going to UUYO, I've met so many people with that background.
Yeah.
Not the same as mine, of course, um, but many horror stories I've heard, as we have
Yeah, sure.
fellowship downstairs and people get to know each
Sure.
other.
Yeah.
And I'm always shocked that these people are here with
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
because I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
We've been hurt before.
Sure.
We've seen the imperfections. And my mom, who is very religious, would just say to me, well, the church is imperfect because man is imperfect. And it's something that I had a lot of time to wrestle with, because she's right. but at the same time, it felt like there was something, there was like a but to that sentence. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's kind of shifted a bit for me. I think it's a huge shift to go from being in a place of knowing what you don't want and reacting to what you don't want to finding out or even wondering what you love.
Mm.
And I think that has been a huge difference for me and a huge shift. And strangely, that allows for imperfection. It does. I don't try to scrub that out. And it doesn't make it inferior, in my opinion. Like I can be imperfect. An institution can be imperfect. That's okay. We don't need to scrub or pretend that it's otherwise. But there is some kind of compass there that feels legitimate and authentic, some kind of compass toward what we actually naturally love, what we appreciate, what we enjoy. And we may get distracted and go off the rails and do all this stuff because we do that. But it's still there and we come back to it and it can guide us. And I think for me, that's kind of more what church feels like now, less a place where we're trying to make it more perfect or kind of less kind of problematic. I mean, that's true too. We don't want it to be abusive or anything like that, but it's still human and we're human, but there's still kind of that coming back to what we love and what we appreciate and what we enjoy and what gives us meaning. And that for me is like the important thing.
I think that for a lot of these folks that I've spoken to who kind of have that traumatic experience from their previous churches, that finding that thing, listening to, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I hear is that you're saying, listen to what it is that you want.
Yeah.
And so much of what I've been told and many other people has told is like, listen to what God wants. There's a big, big distinction and big difference there that, I still have a hard time.
I'm strangely optimistic and no one's really kind of pushed too hard on this, which I'm really surprised about. I am very optimistic. I think that if you kind of test out with a person and I think if a person follows in a sense what is calling to them, it may be confused. But I do have this kind of sense it's going to lead to some place that's going to be richer and truer and more beautiful than if you try to like skirt around that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe that is a form of weird optimism, but I do kind of feel that, like, rather than like, oh no, don't do that, go this path, or no. I kind of feel like unless someone is literally going to put themselves or someone in harm's way directly, like, I don't know, maybe that's a thing to explore. And that maybe not the end result of where you want to be, but it might lead to something.
Sure.
I do kind of trust that more.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have struggled with that, like, what are we doing here? Because
like on earth or
every Sunday,
Oh, you mean what am I doing here in church, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because my wife she did not come from a religious background. Never went to church. She would go to church, a Unitarian church in Washington State with her dad, like when we'd visit once a year. And I wouldn't go. I'd stay home, and watch football.
Yeah.
And so she has none of that baggage.
Yeah.
But when she hears certain coded words, she's like, oh my God.
Sure. Yeah.
That word could be Jesus. That word could be God.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit.
Religious stuff. Yeah.
Stuff right out of the Bible. Reading a Bible verse.
Yeah, sure.
And then expounding on that. And I would say to her,
it's so funny. Those are my favorite kind of people, though, are the people who are wondering what they're doing there. It's my own bias. It's my own feeling.
Sure.
I have more in common, I think, and I really enjoy the people who come, who have no idea why they're there, compared to the people who are certain why they're there.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's not that it's better. It's just much more on kind of my own wavelength and feeling. I like that. Because there is a kind of mystery to it and a kind of a questioning spirit that I think is healthy and creative, actually.
Right. Right.
Like, what is happening here, actually? Like,
Right.
what are we doing? Like, why are we gathering? Questions like that actually make me really come alive. Like, rather than just assuming, oh, we do this thing and we come here because my parents did it or because I was told it was
Hmm.
good or
Hmm.
whatever reasons, to be like,
Right.
why the heck am I coming here? I could do all these things. Why am I coming here right now? That's great, you know?
It, there is an ambiguity there that I very much would try to fill in for my wife. She would say if there was a Bible verse read, or maybe a more traditional Christian hymn sung or song or message or whatever,
Yeah.
I would say, well, what do you think we're doing here? You know, and that would make her a little bit angry. With it would be a silent car ride home. But the ambiguity is that you speak of is something that I'm starting to embrace more. She doesn't have to believe what I believe.
Yeah, and I don't know if I do a very good job of this, but I try to kind of have the spirit of opening it up. So like I play with, Bible verses. I play with creeds and dogma and history and all kinds of writings, trying to show that we can play with it. It doesn't have to be this like no trespassing
Yeah,
zone. It doesn't have to be your thing or even my thing, but it's available and it's rich and like we can play with it and not know exactly what we're doing, but that can be really fun and really enjoyable and enriching and it can teach us something. Not this like you got to read this thing that's going to be what you have to do for your life and guide you and you have to be totally different and like no, it's more like we can play with it
sure.
and we don't need to be scared of it and we don't need to yeah be like that's for a whole segment of the population but not for me. It's all available, and that's kind of the hope I have of like in doing that is like opening it up and be like yeah you can read it for yourself, you can read it with a friend, find your own sense of what's speaking to you, what's not.
It's almost like Martin Luther 2.0.
Yeah, yeah, in what way?
In just that he translated the Bible into German. It was like, here it is. For those of the few people that could read back then,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't come from me, from God to me, to you. You can have the direct path to God. And now what I'm hearing you is that what might not even be the capital G God. It is the ambiguity is there for you to explore and uh, find your own path.
Yeah, and there is kind of a churning happening. Maybe it is counterculture, like you were talking about AI. I think we're in a very content obsessed
Yeah,
culture. And it's not bad. I think we want feedback. We want different opinions and ideas. And I think it's healthy. That's really good. But I think if you get so hung up on the content of something, I think, at least for me, I can forget that there's a whole process that's available. And for me, I'm more interested in the process. I don't really care where someone comes to in terms of how they respond to something as long as it's not harmful to someone else. But the process of it, that's for me the richness of it in terms of like what we're doing is like introducing that process is available and it's a human process and like we have access to it. And I'm less concerned about the content of where it goes. Yeah.
sure. The journey is more important than
That
the
is it. That
destination.
is it. And it's really rich. It's really rich to kind of get lost in it. It's really rich, especially in a community. I find it's really rich because someone will hear something or read something. When I was in seminary, actually, some of the best students in my biblical class were Unitarian Universalists who had never read the Bible. Never.
Sure.
Because they would hear something, which all of us that grew up in a tradition would just skate over because we heard it a million times. Right. And they were kind of like, WTF? What
Yeah.
was that one little part? And like, oh, I'd heard that a million times. It was almost like background.
Yeah.
And it was like the first time they ever heard it. So they could pick up stuff
Yeah.
that was like, oh, wow, you know?
Yeah. My wife and I once took a class at UC Berkeley called Poetry of the Bible.
Mm.
And so we read the Bible as poetry. So I think we did some of the Book of Jonah, Psalms, of course, uh, maybe Ezekiel, because Ezekiel is a trippy book.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I like to read that and freak myself out.
Especially now we're entering Halloween season. That's
what was going on back then? Even when I was in my most fervent religious Christianity when I was younger, Ezekiel was one of my favorite books just because it was just nuts.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of. It felt like I was reading another conspiracy theory book. I was really into like Bermuda Triangle and Bigfoot as a young kid, and that's what Ezekiel felt like to me.
Yeah.
Was that this guy was like, he's like tuned in to some kind of energy that's I don't know, but it's in this is my young mind, but it's in the Bible. So
and there's such a great assumption that I love kind of overturning that. I think the biblical texts do really well of like, oh, to be a religious person, you have to be like a certain kind of individual that's very, pure and upstanding and, wise and always kind. And no, if you read the biblical text, these are crazy folks who have all kinds of ideations and all kinds of the whole range of humanity, and they still have a spiritual life.
Right.
And like that's like a whole thing. Like, and I like that kind of overturning of like, no, you can, there's room for the whole human experience here. There's room for all of us. It's wide open.
Solomon, David. I mean, these are like, in one sense, like very evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Very evil people.
Exactly.
And, Solomon's temple is the, what is the pinnacle of Christianity, early Christianity and Judaism is what this guy built.
Yeah.
What was it? The Romans destroyed it or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that gives us hope. We don't all have to be this perfectness of piety. And I mean, we should probably try to strive for it a little bit more than they did.
Yeah, and it's a challenge too. And I think it's actually a real challenge. It's not a fake challenge. It's a real challenge, I think, to like, if you can learn something from someone who does horrendous things. I remember in Buddhism, someone said it was something that was great. It's like, sometimes the Buddha tells you what not to do.
Mm.
And that's actually a better teaching, a greater teaching, sometimes, of like, here's what not to do. And that's still a Buddha. That's actually just as much a Buddha as someone who's like, here's a wonderful thing to do and practice.
Right.
Like someone who, embodies, like, teaches, okay, maybe not that. That seems like that causes a lot of suffering. That's really helpful.
Yeah. I think that as a parent, I find myself being the what not to do Buddha so much.
Yeah, and it's helpful.
It
can be.
It is helpful. But maybe I should cultivate a little more of like, okay, you hear something really cool and interesting, because the what not to do has to kind of walk a line of it could be too much. Like you're always being told no.
Yeah.
No, like, as a
But that's really poignant, right? Like I think when a parent can be aware of that, when they're kind of like, when they can actually say explicitly, to a kid, this thing that you're witnessing, here's why that you shouldn't maybe do that. Like I'm doing this, and I've done that, and here's why I would regret that, and like I want different for you.
Yeah.
And like that's a very poignant thing. It's very powerful. To kind of enter, your own humanity like that. But that's kind of how I approach spirituality. It's like less about trying to scrub clean, like you were talking about, and more like, can we enter our full experience, and through that trust that something can be shown to us.
Sure.
I think that's a different, and there's maybe a higher level of trust in that, but I find it more freeing.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the previous recording, we talked about that no one knows what they're doing in the moment.
Yeah.
Like the reasons why they do something.
Yeah.
But in kind of one way, what we're talking about is being very present in that moment to be the parent or to be the teacher for yourself or maybe someone else that needs to hear the Buddha's no. How do we stay aware in that moment? I see a lot of people in society that have a lot of difficulty controlling any kind of strong emotions, which is something that we also talked about, that
Yeah. Yeah.
that a strong emotion is a bad emotion, and I need to get it out and act out in whatever way, whether that's violence or some sort of abuse or whatever it is,
Yeah.
deep, lashing out. Um, how do we cultivate being there in the moment? Well, maybe we don't always know what we're doing or the reasons for what we're doing, but we can pick up the signals along the way and then help cultivate that in others, your children, your friends, etc.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know other than practicing it. Um, I think that can look like a million billion different ways, but for me, it's like, can I practice even by myself sometimes? Um, walking, sitting, being with what I'm feeling, and discover for myself. And sometimes doing this like this in a conversation can be supportive to be like in the presence sometimes of another person or a group to be like, um, that's why I find protest really powerful.
Hmm.
Like it's a container for these intense feelings with at least my feeling. At almost all the protests that I've been to have been like the aim is to actually channel this energy into something positive,
Mm.
something that can actually move us and change us as a person and as a culture. And these feelings are not bad. And I think that finding a container for that, like you teach jujitsu, I think that's a good container. Like there's lots of different ways to like get into that space where you're like you find a different way to express it.
Sure.
You find a community. You find people who are like, I've been there. I've been there, man. Like I've been really angry, or I've been really
Sure.
sad, or I've been shocked, or whatever. And like it's all right. And there are ways to like, express that in ways that will not cause you or other people harm. There are ways to do it,
Sure.
you know?
Sure. That's what this is something that I've done with my kids. Sometimes they just get so overwhelmed with the way that they feel,
Yeah.
and
And then there's
I
nothing
have
wrong with
boys.
you. There's nothing wrong with feeling like that.
Right. They're just frustrated in the
Right.
moment, whether that's like me saying no or whether it's anything else where I can't talk to them in that moment. So I give them a pair of boxing gloves and we have a heavy bag in the
Yeah,
basement.
there you go.
Go pound on that until you're ready to talk to me.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk. It works 100% of the time.
It's so great.
They might be down there yelling or screaming and just whack, 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 whack.
Yeah, yeah. You know what's funny? I'm similar. I'm similar to your kids. Like literally, like I'll go work out. I'll have to wear myself out. No, that's literally what I do. I'm like an adult. I do the same thing. I literally like I can't find the right words to articulate this right now in a way that probably will be beneficial. I literally have to wear myself out, and something will probably come out of my exhaustion.
Yeah.
And then it usually does, and I can feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I gotta exhaust myself sometimes. I get it. No, I'm like that too.
I find in those are the moments where I have the most peace and the most clarity.
Yeah.
You look at, say, if you're watching a basketball game and been a very intense and long game, and maybe there's a timeout and you see the players on the bench, they all have 1,000-yard stare. The coach could be yelling and whatever.
Yeah.
They're all you just see them just not disconnected, but they are in a place of peace that only comes through extreme physical and for them mental and probably emotional exertion. You're playing in a game, highs and lows, the strategy,
Yeah.
yeah, all the things that go with the games, a hard foul, and you just see them just like mouth agape,
Yeah.
just staring at who knows where they are.
Yeah.
but they're at a place of like profound like calmness and clarity, and then the whistle blows and they get up and go
That's it.
play. Uh, but I do want to come back to a thing that you were talking about, why you find protests to be so powerful,
Yeah, containers. Yeah.
because I also remember uh, uh, do you call them sermons?
Yeah, sermons.
Sermons.
Yeah.
A sermon that you gave a while back saying that that we need to do something other than protest. Protest is the usual. We need
Sure.
to do something unusual.
Sure.
Um, and I just kind of picked up on that, and I just wonder so protest being the container.
Yeah, I think it's both and, for me, um, I guess for me, the real juice of a protest is if it can almost similar to actually like a church service in a way. I think the real power of it is the potential that it can change how you relate to your life when you leave the protest.
Mm,
That's for me what it's about. Like a protest is one moment in time for an afternoon that's very intense, can be intense. But really for me, the juice of it is like, you know, you can have a transformative experience where it can change how you want to live your life in maybe ways that are not always noticeable, but you feel.
sure.
That's the power of it. So I think it's kind of both and. So I guess what I meant kind of there is not that we shouldn't protest. It's like I think we should also take that energy and do something really different when we leave the protest. I think that's the power of it. Maybe that's what I think the power of church is like if you can leave a situation in a church service or anything where you kind of feel like, wow, I could do something different.
Sure.
I could be different, or I could do something a little unusual. I could experiment. That's the best. That's the best.
Sure.
That's the best. You know?
Yeah. I
And it's not about being right, and it's not about being like it's the best, or it's just like, oh, I haven't seen this before, not quite like this. I want to do this. I want to have a podcast. I want to talk to somebody, or whatever. I want to do something that's maybe a little different and explore a different part of myself and explore a different side of other people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's for me the stuff.
Well, protest is almost like your workout,
Yeah,
whacking the crap out of a heavy bag when you feel frustrated.
it's a container. It's a container for it. And I think it's natural, and I think that it's all right. More than all right. I think it's helpful. It can be helpful. Um, but then, yeah, once you kind of get that energy out, to still have friendships,
Mm,
when you leave with some of those folks, to
sure.
be like, yeah, and we're still connected when we're just chilling and we're drinking coffee, and we're not at that heightened state. But if we get to that heightened state, like we can be there for each other too. Like
Sure.
it's all good.
Sure.
It's all good.
Sure. I want to switch a little bit and toss you a bit of a curveball. Do you know who James Telrico or
No,
Pastor Paul Dress, I think that's our Dries, is?
I don't. Uh,
So these are two people who, James Telrico, I know he's in seminary. I don't know if he's an ordained Baptist
okay, he's
minister.
a student right now, or a professor.
Yes. Well, no, he is a state representative running for Congress in Texas.
Okay,
And he's come to national prominence because of the way he speaks. He's a Christian, and but he's but the way that he explains Christianity is not the way that Americans understand Christianity.
interesting.
And the same with Reverend Paul Dress. He's a Presbyterian minister. Same thing. So he's much more of like a TikTok kind of influence. But both of these people have kind of united around this notion of Christian nationalism,
Yeah,
which we see a lot right now. And that's kind of that's kind of a thread with what we've been talking about with those of us who have gotten out of that, instead of
sure.
using Christianity or spirituality as a national identity to do whatever we want to do,
Sure.
that we're instead accepting the ambiguity of the religious experience to be something very personal and not something that we need to kind of force upon others or allow it to govern the way that we govern our people.
Right.
So I just wonder if you have any comments or reactions to
like Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, my reading of, when I read the Bible and I have my own relationship to Christianity, it's actually very, very critical of empire, and it's very, it's it's a group of people who are trying to live under the oppression of empire, and then in a sense, their savior gets crucified by empire. That's my reading.
That's powerful.
That's my reading of it. So when I look at the story of Jesus, when I look at the story of the disciples, these are people who are trying to just kind of like live their life and not get taxed too much and not get basically fucked with too much by the empire. And Jesus basically gets the attention of empire, and it's not good attention. That's my reading of the tradition. So for me, any tradition that is trying to align with empire is not really a tradition I want to be part of. That's my feeling. I'm very, my own sense is that any religious tradition that aligns with empire is, in a sense, not a valid tradition in a sense of, um, it's, it gets co-opted. It gets co-opted.
Yeah.
And it robs a person of the spiritual and transformative potential of the tradition when it gets co-opted by empire.
Yeah.
That's my own feeling about it.
Yeah. It looks to me to be a permission. The way Christian nationalists would be, it's a permission to do whatever I need to do for the empire, for the state.
Right.
And
Instead of like, I think that for me, the power of, in this sense, the Christian tradition is, here's what we could do for those who are the most oppressed. That's for me how I read the tradition. It's like the potential is like all that energy and all that great teaching is like what we could do, what we could do for those who are really overlooked and actually overtly oppressed by empire. That's for me the real promise of it. It's always on the side of those who are suffering. That's my reading, but that's also kind of the tradition that I come out of, in a sense of, to put my cards on the table. I mean, that's a tradition I think I've really come out of now, studying at Union Seminary, that has a bit more of a liberation theology kind of bend. So, that's probably my take, is more on that side of things.
What is liberation theology?
Yeah, so basically liberation theology is, in broad strokes, the idea that God is on the side of the oppressed. And so any religious movement that is not on the side of those who are most oppressed is not really a tradition we want to align ourselves with.
Right. Okay.
And so it's always looking around to be like, and that could be the environment, it could be groups of people, looking around to be like, who's suffering right now? And what kind of good news can I offer them in action, in deed, in lifestyle? What can I offer? And that's for me that's a powerful religious question.
Christian nationalism seems to be just about power to me.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what a lot of,
I mean, that's what empire is about. That's what an empire is. It's concerned about its own power, right?
And I think that that's, to speak about my own journey, that's what I hated about the church.
Sure.
Was that it felt like it was another, an oppressive power figure in my life that had, controlled what I did, controlled how I thought. And it wasn't a pleasant feeling. And I guess now as an adult, I look at it and go, yeah, well, duh. I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I was in church. I left the church, I think, when I was like 14 or 15.
But what I love, again, there's a nuance to it too, for me too. So I'm not quite even aligned with the whole kind of ideology around anything really. But there's something about the nuance too when I look at the story of Jesus, where he really welcomed and actually opened himself up to a relationship with those who were directly involved in empire. So he worked with tax collectors. He worked, he talked to Roman soldiers like they were human beings as fellow children of God.
Yeah.
And he didn't really discriminate in that way either.
Right.
So that's, I guess, for me, kind of a really powerful thing too, where it's less like I'm over here and you're over there, and you're a Christian nationalist and I'm here. It's like, no, I have my sense of what feels. I know what my conscience is telling me. It's like I want to protect the most vulnerable.
Sure.
And if I see you doing something that is not, in my view, in the best interest of people, I will do everything in my power to try to not allow that harm to happen, while at the same time trying to honor you as a human being and your own potential and your own capacity for growth and spirituality and love. And that's such a hard thing, but that's for me like the power, that nuance of it, of like you're not demonizing anyone. You're not saying, you know, you're somehow, excluded. Because for me, Jesus' story is like, no, the person you think excluded, guess what? They're the most included.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah.
And that's the powerful shift for me.
It's powerful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We will pick this up again next week, and then very great conversation. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you.
All right.